Hi guys, in this video I'm going to show you what I made in last week's Facebook Live. It's a little robot. The idea was it's kind of a Valentines robot. So I started with a cake drum. It's just a 6-inch one that I've actually put some fondant on and then a layer of modelling paste over the top. So I've got a nice dome so that I've got something deep to stick my robot's legs into. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add some letters to the base. So it's up to you what style font you want. I've got the Sweet Stamps ones and I've decided on this set here. So what I'm going to do is tag or link below the video to all the different things that I've used so you guys can get hold of the same ones if you want. We do also sell them on our website as well, should you want them. So I'm just pressing these in one at a time. Just make sure that your fondant hasn't dried too much before you press them in. Otherwise, it doesn't give you like the nice outline of the letters. So I'm putting a bit of pressure on there to press them in to get the imprint. And what we want to do is we want to start with legs that are a little bit firm. So if these ones don't firm up enough, I've got a white set that I've left to one side, which I probably will end up using, and then just pushed onto some kebab skewers, some wooden kebab skewers. And all you're going to do is you just roll in a bit of your modelling paste. So I've got the Serracino modelling paste here. I've got a grey, so I mixed black and white together for the grey. And then we just put it onto the kebab skewers. So I'll leave them to one side, let them firm up. And I think that because my white ones were already firm, I'm going to use these for the model we're doing at the moment. So I've rolled that grey modelling paste nice and thin. We've cut a couple of strips, and what we're going to do is we're going to wrap it around each of these legs, so each of the white legs, with a little coil like so. Just pull any extra bits off the top and bottom. I'm just going to push them into a piece of polystyrene just to let them dry. You can leave them laying down, but they might squash a bit. And the other option, if you prefer not to have them spiraled, is to put them kind of going straight across, so horizontal kind of stripes. So if you are going to do that, you just want shorter pieces that you're going to wrap around. So I'm just showing you on one of the grey ones, just so you can see for an example. And you just join them at the back of the leg. There we go. So you can see, obviously these aren't the same size legs. We're not going to put them on the same figure. But one's straight across and one's kind of like a diagonal stripe or swirl. So I'm going to try and make my robot straight onto this baseboard, but if you guys prefer, you can just leave it drying on polystyrene, and then once it's set, you can put it onto this baseboard. So we're going to start with a ball of modelling paste that we cut in half for the feet. So we're going to use each half for a foot. I'm going to put a dip in the middle, just using my balling tool, so that I can push the leg in there. So I've pushed the leg into that. Just put a bit of water or edible glue between the leg and the foot. Do the same on the other one. And then we can push them into our base. Try not to have them lean in too far back or forwards, otherwise your figure might continue to lean. I apologise for the background noise as well in today's video, guys. So because I haven't made it on a polystyrene dummy first, I'm just going to put some greaseproof paper down on my base, and it's going to sit under the robot's legs. The idea being that if I dust the robot later, the dust will all set on the greaseproof paper rather than on the green modelling paste and fondant that's on my board, because otherwise it'll just end up a bit mucky, a bit grotty. And then we're going to move on to our body. So you've got a larger piece now, and we're going to kind of create a chunk that's slightly flattened on the front and sides. I'm going to shorten it a bit. Now you'll see I actually have a bit of a play around with texturizing things, but I didn't like the texture mat, so we're going to just turn it over and do it by hand on the other side. So we just put a couple of little lines in. I'm going to use a piping nozzle for some little dots, like that. I think that should be plenty of patterning on there. So I'm going to put some water on the tops of the legs, and then we're going to press the body down. So the body's pretty heavy, so it's important that the legs have set firmly, otherwise they will collapse under the weight of the body. And we're just getting some little strips here, just in our grey modelling paste. And what we're going to do is we're going to put these around the bottom of each foot. Just wrap them all the way around. Same on the other foot. And then we're going to put some little balls or little dots of the grey around this strip that we've just put on. And it's up to you whether you want to cut out little circles with a piping nozzle or whether you find it easier to just roll a small ball and press it on. I started with the piping nozzle, but actually I found it easier to just roll a tiny ball and squash it on in place. So I'm putting a little dip where the neck's going to be. Now you'll see I start doing this, and then later in the video I decide the body's a little bit tall, so I do actually end up cutting it down a bit. But this is what I did before I cut it down. So I put a little neck in, so a little cylinder into that indentation that I'd made. And then we put some little stripes around the neck, a bit like we did on the legs earlier. Joining them at the back. But yeah, this is where I decided it's too tall, so I'm just going to cut the very top of the body off. I thought it would look cuter if it had a shorter body rather than a really tall body. Also, my figure's quite big, so it cuts down the weight as well. So I'll just repeat that same process, putting a dip in there, and then we'll stick the neck in. Just make sure the skewer that's inside for like extra support doesn't come out at the bottom of the body. So I'm going to trim that down so it's not quite so long. And then what I'm going to do is take a piece of paste, and I apologize guys that I haven't told you the weights and quantities in this video, but if you want to pop over to to our Facebook page, you can still find the Facebook Live that we did, and in there I run through the exact quantities of everything that we use for this video. So we've put polystyrene ball in the middle just to lighten down the weight, and we've flattened the bottom of the head so you get this kind of shape. And what I'm going to do is roll a little strip that just goes around the bottom of the face, which will be kind of his bottom jaw. So just around there like that. We'll just straighten it off a bit more. Yep, so it lengthens the size of the face as well. And we want a little circle for the top. So I'm just using my plunger cutters here to cut out some circles. And we want one for each side of the jaw as well. Though we'll put a smaller one on the top first. A little piece of wire in the top. So you're not going to eat this one. Also, it's got polystyrene inside the head, so you're definitely not going to want to eat this guy. Put a little heart on the top of his little antenna. Poke a hole in with the same piece, or a different piece of wire, but the same size piece of wire, and then we can insert it onto the one that's on the head. So these are the discs that are going on the side of his jaw that I mentioned earlier. And then let's give him some eyes. So I've got some white modelling paste. I think we're going to go with different sized eyes. So one bigger, one smaller. I'm going to give them a firm press on in place. And then let's give him some little eyelids. So these are just semicircles. Just want to stretch them so they're slightly wider than the white of the eye. And press those on. And then we've got a little ball of black that's going to go in each eye. So again, I've tried to make one bigger than the other one, and I've squashed them down flat. We're going to take a ball of fuchsia pink, and we're going to roll it into a teardrop for a heart, and then we'll put an indentation into the top of it. Just smoothing it down a bit with your fingers. And then we're going to put some tiny dots of white. So this is just the modelling paste again. We're going to put that into each eye. Give his eyes a bit more of a sparkle. Apologies for my head and grey hairs getting in short. And then we can dust him. If you want to make him a little bit more metallic-y, you can use the shiny dust. So I've got a few different ones here. I'll try and list below everything that I had a bit of a play around with. Now, I dusted them on dry, so it just gave him a bit of a shine. But if you mix them with a clear alcohol or dip in solution, you can use it as an actual paint and fully cover him in the more metallic look. So let's just push a little hole into the bottom of his head. And then we can insert that onto the body itself, like so. And then if you want to dust the body, I found like the copper and kind of gold, bronze colours showed up a bit better, but I wanted to have a bit of silver on him as well. And these are all the edible dusts that we're using for this. Let's stick his heart in place. Oh, no, we haven't stuck his heart in place. I've put a bit of water on to make the heart go sticky first, guys. The leg that I made earlier, I decided I was going to use it as an arm. So we're just going to put some more stripes on the other arm so that it matches. And then we'll use these for arms. So we're just going to stick them on at the shoulders, curving them round. Apologies, I realised like all my stuff in the background really is taking up quite a lot of space. I am going to have a sort around and clear away all those Christmas things soon. And the three sort of busts that you can see in the background, they're my next online class. There we go. So heart's now pushed in place. So the hands are just going to take a ball. I wanted them almost to be like Lego man hands, but they didn't quite work out right. We kind of push a dip into the middle of the ball to kind of get a kind of hooked looking hand. I'm not sure how you would describe it. They didn't quite work as I planned though, these hands. I should have gone for something a bit different. But they're holding the heart and that's okay. That's what we want. And maybe just put a bit more silver on those legs. Bit of bronze on there as well. And then I'm going to mix some pink powder. So again, it's the edible powder. We've just mixed it with some dip in solution to create a paint. And I'm just going to paint that into those letters that we imprinted earlier. So it made some little like nuts and bolts and things. Is it the nut? Is it the bolt? I forget which is which. And I just have like a little mold for the little mini cogs and stuff. So I just pushed the paste into that. There you go. You can see the mold. This one's not nuts and bolts. It's just the little cogs. It's this one. So if you want to do a ball, I roll the paste, put a circle hole in first, and then I just kind of cut lines around the outside to create that hexagon shape. And that's how I created that one. Put some little tufts of grass on the board. So I'm using a tiny daisy cutter that we cut in half. And these will just stick onto the green there. Don't need much. It's just so it stops it looking quite as plain. And then we'll stick like the little nuts and cogs on. I don't think it needs much on there. And this was just so people in the video could see the height. He was about 26 centimetres from the board. On my board that I was working on, but from the board he's stood on, he's a bit shorter. And you can just finish him off by putting a ribbon around the board as well, guys, if you want, just to tidy it up a little bit. So there he is, all finished. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget you can catch the full-length versions over on my Facebook page. And don't forget to check out my other YouTube videos. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to hit the thumbs up button and leave me a comment below. You can see more of my tutorials by clicking on the images on screen now. If you haven't already, make sure you click the subscribe button to stay up to date with my future tutorials. There are also links in the description box below where you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and more.